When was the last time you saw something online, maybe a video or a picture, that made you stop and just stare? Something so incredible, so wild, you struggled to believe it. Maybe it was a video of a world leader saying something so out of character, you had to watch it twice. Or a video of someone's pet sleeping alongside a bobcat. Or perhaps it was smaller, more personal. A picture from a friend's vacation where the sunset looked too perfect, the colors too vibrant.
For just a second, your brain accepted it. You feel a jolt of surprise or wonder, or maybe even envy. And then, a moment later, a question mark pops up in your mind. A quiet voice that says, "Wait a minute, is that real?" That question is occurring more frequently. It's a brief moment of mental effort our brains now have to undertake. It's a subtle friction in what was once a smooth process of seeing and understanding. That feeling is the sand shifting beneath our feet. For all of human history, seeing was believing. It was a simple, reliable equation. Now, seeing is the start of an investigation. There isn't a universally accepted word for this yet that I'm aware of, but we could call it the believability tax. It's a price we pay every time we look at our screens. Every time we encounter something amazing or shocking, or even a bit unusual, a tiny bit of our mental energy is spent figuring out if it's true. It's a tax on our attention, on our trust, and on our peace of mind. And like any tax, you might not notice the small payments, but they add up over time. And at the end of the day or the end of the week, we can find ourselves feeling increasingly tired and wary of the world without quite knowing why. Think of it like this. Imagine you spent your whole life walking on solid earth. You never had to consider if the next step you took would hold your weight. You just walked. You ran, you moved through the world with a basic unspoken trust in the ground beneath you. Now, imagine that overnight, patches of that ground have become incredibly realistic illusions. They appear solid, give the impression of depth, and seem completely real. But if you step on them, you'll fall right through. Suddenly, walking isn't simple anymore, is it? Every step becomes a calculation. You have to poke and prod at the surface in front of you. You have to look for the subtle shimmer that gives the illusion away. You become careful, more suspicious. You can't move freely and confidently anymore. That natural trust is gone, replaced by a constant low-level vigilance. That's what's starting to happen with the information we see and share every day. Our once rock-solid reality is now getting filled with convincing illusions. This tax, this constant questioning of reality, costs us way more than a moment of our time. It robs our attention. Our brains are amazing, but they have a limited budget of focus to spend each day. When we're constantly running a background program called "Is This Real?", it's like having an app secretly running on your phone, draining the battery. We scroll through our feeds, and with each post, a tiny bit of power is drained. Is that product review from a real person? Is that news story from a reliable source? Is that photo edited? The battery of our attention gets lower and lower, leaving us feeling foggy and depleted even after just a few minutes of browsing. Then there's the incessant, imperceptible cost to our trust. This might be the highest price we pay. The believability tax doesn't make us doubt obvious fakes, like a photo of flying elephants. It slowly erodes our trust in everything. We start to doubt institutions, news sources, and public figures. Questioning is actually an essential skill in modern society, but this new problem goes deeper than healthy skepticism. We have entered a technological era when we must doubt our own senses. Did I really see that, or was it fake? It can even put a crack in our personal relationships. Think about a time a family member shared something that you knew was false. The conversation that followed probably wasn't about the topic itself. It was about whether the information was real in the first place. This creates a weird tension. We become hesitant to share things ourselves, afraid of being the one who takes the bait and looks foolish. We become hesitant to believe what others share, putting some distance between us. And it's not just imagery or video. This tax applies to words, too. It applies to those little factoids and snippets of text that travel around the internet because they sound sensational.
For example, you might see a post that says, "Shark sightings have doubled this year." That sounds terrifying, right? It sounds like the ocean is suddenly full of danger. But what if the reason there are 2 times as many shark sightings is because beach attendance also doubled? If there are twice as many people looking at the water, there are going to be twice as many reports of sharks. The shark population didn't necessarily change. The human population did. But the scary version travels faster. It feels more exciting. This kind of twisting of facts, where we get a piece of data but not the context, can lead us to fear things that aren't real threats.
The struggle is also different depending on when you were born. For those of us who grew up before smartphones became part of our daily lives, we had years to learn how to trust our physical senses. We spent our childhood scraping our knees and learning gravity the hard way. We built a deep, physical trust in our senses because we had to. It's true that we still struggle to keep our focus on what's real online, especially because in the past, anything printed was usually considered true. But at least we have a foundation of offline experiences to reflect back on.
On the other hand, kids growing up today are building their sense of reality by sitting still and watching other people do things on a 2D screen. If they don't participate in sports or other physical activities throughout their entire childhood, then they often aren't navigating real spaces, learning left from right by turning their bodies, understanding distance by walking it, or building a mental map of the world through touch, movement, and experience. As a result, recent research shows that children with heavy screen time are struggling with spatial awareness, the ability to understand where they are in physical space and how objects relate to each other. When you tell them something like, "The book is behind you on your right," they freeze, confused, unable to translate those words into body movements. They also bump into peers more often, not because they're clumsy, but because their brains haven't had enough practice judging distance and navigating around moving objects. It's telling that the very people who built this digital world often shield their own families from it. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and many other tech pioneers convinced the world that these devices will improve our lives, while insisting that their own children learn to live without them. Why? These tech titans understand something profound: that before you can navigate the digital world safely, you need to be deeply grounded in the real one. There's an old saying, "You crawl before you walk, and you walk before you run." Children need to learn to trust their own senses, their own spatial awareness, their own ability to navigate and make sense of physical reality before they're handed a screen that offers an alternate version of it. Because once you're online, you need to know how to protect yourself. You need to recognize when someone is trying to manipulate you, trying to make money off your emotions, or trying to trick you into believing something that isn't true. If you don't first start with a solid foundation of offline experiences to help you understand that just because you see something online, that doesn't mean that it's real, you're much more vulnerable to being picked off by all the people online who see you as a target. You're more likely to believe what you see on a screen because that's literally all you know. So what do? There isn't an easy answer or a simple 3-step plan to fix it. We can't log off and pretend this new reality doesn't exist because this is our world now. But maybe the first step is to notice the tax we're all paying. To acknowledge that feeling of uncertainty when you see something online and give it a name, like believability tax. To understand that the mental fatigue you feel after scrolling isn't a personal failing, it's a shared experience. Recognizing that it's not just you, we are all navigating this new, uncertain territory together. It's a quiet relief to know you're not the only one who feels this way. Perhaps we can also learn to change the questions we ask. When a friend posts that impossibly perfect sunset photo, maybe the most important question isn't, "Is that picture real?" This type of non-risky photographic improvement isn't where we should be spending our investigative energy. In these types of cases, the better question is, how was my friend's vacation? We can shift our focus from verifying the data to connecting with the person behind it. We can choose to invest our energy in the human relationship, which is a much more solid place to stand. And when it comes to political or other polarizing content, we can use a simple filter. Ask yourself, is this making me feel something, or is it teaching me something? Because if it's designed to make you angry, afraid, or outraged,
If it's trying to get a reaction out of you, it's probably not there to inform you, it's there to use you. Your anger, your fear, your attention, those things can be monetized. And a lot of what we see isn't even from real people with real beliefs. It's from accounts designed to stir up emotions because that's what keeps us clicking, sharing, and coming back. Here's a concrete example of what this looks like. Recently, X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, rolled out a feature that shows where accounts are actually based. And what it revealed was eye-opening. Accounts with names like MAGA Nation and America First, accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers posting about American politics all day long, turned out to be based in places like India, Nigeria, Pakistan, and Eastern Europe. These weren't sophisticated political operatives. Many were just people who realized they could make money on X by posting content that makes Americans angry. The more engagement a post gets, the more people argue, share, or react, the more money the account makes. Political rage is profitable. And it doesn't matter if the person stoking that rage has never set foot in the United States. Some of these accounts have even been reposted by political figures who assumed the accounts were owned by fellow Americans. This isn't about pointing fingers at one side or the other. This is happening across the political spectrum. It's simply revealing what we're actually looking at when we scroll. Not a town square of real neighbors with real beliefs, but often a marketplace where our emotions are the product being sold.
So maybe the simplest thing we can do is this. When you see something that triggers a strong emotion, ask yourself one question. Is there a believability tax here? Am I being asked to give my time and also pay an extra tax? A tax on my peace of mind, a tax on my stress level, a tax on my anxiety? If the answer is yes, if you feel that pull to investigate, to fact check, to figure out if it's even real, just don't pay it. No taxes. That's it. You swipe past, you move on. Don't engage at all. No likes or comments, nothing. Don't give it your energy. Save your attention for the things that give back, things that teach you something, things that feel true in your heart, things that help you understand the world. When something asks for your time and gives you value in return, that's an even exchange. You're not being taxed. But if it's asking for your time and adding stress, adding confusion, adding that gnawing feeling of, wait, is this real? That's a tax, and you don't have to pay it. Just keep scrolling.
And finally, we can learn to trust that little voice that says, wait a minute. That's a skill. It's our gut feeling, our intuition. And in this new world, it's more valuable than ever. We can learn to listen to it, to honor its hesitation. And when that feeling of uncertainty becomes too much, we can consciously choose to step away from the screen and plant our feet on the solid earth we know for sure is real. The tangible threads of our own lives. We can talk to a neighbor, cook a meal, listen to the birds, or hold someone's hand. These are real things that don't require verification. And they are the solid ground we can always return to rest and recharge before we venture back into the digital world.
I'm Luma from This Online Life. Thanks for listening.